Hi guys, welcome to the third and unfortunately not final devlog for this silly little Pong game. When I did the end of the last video, I thought I was almost done. I thought I've just got to polish up a few little things and I'll be finished with this game. Not the case. I remember reading a quote somewhere that said like the last 5% of your game takes at least 50% of the time. Anyway, it is all gone horribly, horribly wrong. So I prepared a little thing. So the first thing was all I wanted to do was change the title screen to put the colours on there, which I've done, right? You'd think that'd be really simple. It wasn't. So it just it's one of these things where the more I do, obviously the more I learn. I mean, that's why I'm doing these practice things, right? So this title screen, it didn't have access to the ball sprite. And the ball sprite was something that was only being instantiated when I was when I was kind of actually playing the game. And this caused a massive headache. I had to completely rework the way the assets were loaded in order to have access to this, but without sort of having having globals all over the place. So I actually ended up creating a different class called Powerball Data, which had the details of the actual types of power ups and what colors they were, so that you could access that separately. So that was the first problem, and that was a lot of. I really had to get my head around what I was doing there. So that's something that I'm going to have to think of for future games, because again, in most games, I would want something like that on the title screen. Um, so you might notice I have got another smaller screen. The first version of the game I did was a really small screen. Second version was a really big screen, and honestly that was just feeling slow and sluggish. So now I've got just something in the middle. I've also made the I need to change something here actually, because I've got a debug thing going on. Ignore those red balls for the minute. Yes, I've got a thinner dotted line. I've also sped everything up because it was just feeling so sort of slow. Um, so yeah, that was just something that I needed to change. Now this next problem here, the ball angle. So I was quite proud of the fact that last time, well, proud. Basically, I got the AI to help me write a bit of code which was going to do the maths behind changing the ball angle dependent on where on the paddle it hits. What I hadn't realized at the time was that it actually introduced a massive bug. Basically, the ball was not. Oh, how do I explain it without just going into technical details? Basically, it was registering a whole ton of collisions. The ball was kind of going inside the paddle and like trying to collide with it like 20 times before bouncing back. And I think it was something that was there from the beginning. I just hadn't really noticed it. And it turned out that the code was just wrong. The problem, and this is kind of like a bit of a difficult lesson learned here, I didn't write that line. It was just one line of code. Just one line of code was all it is. But it's the one line of code that I didn't write. The AI wrote it, and the AI got it wrong. And the problem is, first of all, I've just like gone back to the AI and like say, fix it for me. It could not fix it. And I spent way too long then wrestling with the AI. And the problem isn't the AI. The problem is the fact that I put code in my game that I don't understand. I said that before, that I don't understand the maths behind things like ball physics, and I'm never likely to. So the, what I did wrong there was relying on something that I'd sourced from elsewhere. And I think this is an easy problem to do, whether it's AI or looking up some code that you've seen in an article, or, maybe looking through, a GitHub repository of someone else's stuff, and or whatever it is. So that's something that is kind of like a real harsh lesson learned there. Basically, if I do have a look at code from elsewhere or the AI or anything like that, I'm going to make sure I understand every single line of that code if it's going to go in my code base. Generally speaking, though, You know, I want to do it myself. I kind of want to learn a concept and then implement that concept myself. And in that case, with the ball angle, I thought, oh, I don't understand the maths, so I'm just going to use it. I'm sure it's fine. And of course, it wasn't. So what I did in the end, I just took it out. I simply just took it out, so it's just back to how it was to start with just a basic angle. And I'm not going to worry about it. One of the things that I touched on in my last devlog was that I don't really care about Pong games. And this is something that I've been thinking about a lot today. You know, most of the first games I'm planning to do are kind of little arcade games, you know, so things like this, and then Flappy Bird, maybe like a breakout game, which might be a bit pointless because it's kind of similar to Pong in a way, or like what's the other one, like Space Invaders or something like that, or Missile Command, right? And the problem is I'm likely to run into problems like that in all of those sorts of games, and it's not the kind of problem that I want to solve. You know, I'm interested in strategy games, sim games, RPGs, text-based games, stats-based games, still skill-based games, stuff where things aren't generally moving around on the screen a lot. And that's a whole different set of problems that I like to solve. So maybe I should rethink the kind of games that I'm going to work on as my practice projects. I actually remembered something today which I'd forgotten about. I did write a couple of games years ago. It's about 25 years ago. Was it that long? However long it was, like in my mid-20s. When I was first learning C and C++, I wrote a little puzzle game in DirectX. And it was just a simple little game, but maybe I should do that. I should recreate that in MonoGame, because that was my little idea. So it's my little puzzle game, and I know how that works because it's my idea and there aren't any complicated physics. So yeah, that's just something I'm going to have to think about. Right. So my next problem is that the game logic, again, I mentioned this before, and I'm realizing again, I just do not know what I'm doing. When I, you know, doing the basic Pong game was simple, right? As soon as I've tried complicating it by adding in things like these power balls, that's when this has all got into a mess. And this is coming down to the problem that I mentioned before, where basically I'm not doing, this is wrong. This is wrong. The way I'm handling the input, the way I'm handling the updates, I've got a complete mess and I don't know what I'm doing. And I've been wrestling with this for hours today. And it's one of those classic situations. You know, I'd spot a bug, and as soon as I think I've fixed it, it introduces another one. So let me just revert back. So I've put in, where is it? I've kind of fixed, yeah, those power balls are supposed to be sort of every 6 seconds, not every 2 seconds. And I was testing the fastball in particular. So let me just uncomment that and put that back in. So the other two power-ups work fine, and the reason they work fine is because they take effect immediately. So if the paddle is increased in size, it would help if I still catch the main ball. If the paddle is increased in size, that effect is simply applied to the sprite straight away. Same with if the paddle is increased in speed. There we go. It takes effect straight away. I've added a little sound effect there. I mentioned before that I wanted some kind of visual clue, and I realised doing a visual clue, even that's not that simple, because if I want some text to appear on the screen, that's something that appears over a certain number of frames, right? So it seems simple, but it's not built into MonoGame. It's something that I would have to write. So I decided I'd just do another another sound effect. So the main game is still playable, ball's still speeding up. I've got a couple of power-ups which are working, but the fastball one is not working at all. And I kind of understand why it's not working, but I don't know how to fix it. So if I catch it, it only takes into effect when you lose anyway. But what am I going to do about this? So back up, back up, back up. I think at this point, I've tried to do too much in my first game. I was able to create the simple Pong game easily enough, but then when I've introduced the power-ups, I thought, oh yeah, that'll be easy. Wasn't. The main problem with the fast ball is that there's a delay. So the idea is when you catch that red ball, it should set a flag that says the next time the player hits back the ball, it's going to go back really fast. So that's going to affect the ball speed through the whole time that it's being sent back. But then if a point is scored or if the AI returns it back, the effect is cancelled. And it's this kind of delay with the update that I'm just getting completely stuck on. So I think really the game loop, handling of input, how all the objects should be updated, I have not got my head around it yet. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a break from the game and I'm going to study. I actually really like learning. I've got a book. I think I did mention the book before. Yeah, this game here. This book. So I've started reading this book, and it covers. I think it's going to cover what I need, and it builds out 4 games using MonoGame. So I'm going to work through that book and see if that helps me to understand what I'm doing, and then come back to the Pong game. It might be that I need to. Part of me wants to kind of start a different game, like the Flappy Bird one, because I don't think I'll have this problem, but just keep it simple. But there's another part of me that thinks I don't want to stop what I'm working on one game and then start a new one, because then I could get into that habit of just abandoning it and then being one of those people that just has a string of half-finished games and never actually finishes anything. So I think for the moment I just need to pause the Pong and yeah, just kind of go back to studying. And it's been honestly a really kind of humbling experience, because like I'm quite an experienced software developer. You know, I've done programming of various kinds for many years, and I'm being stumped by something as simple as a little power up on a game of Pong. So, but then that's kind of the point, right? That's why I decided to do this YouTube channel and just show how show the struggles, basically, be real with it. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to say for this one. So I don't know what's going to come in. I don't know what the next kind of video is going to be. I don't know if I'm going to talk about what I'm learning or what. So yeah, at the moment I just kind of need to just take a step back, go back to studying, and then see what happens. All right, thanks for watching, guys.